Hi, my name is Leah Day, and welcome to Quilt Along number 42 on the Free Motion Quilting Project. This week we're still working on busting through a quilt very quickly. But we pretty much covered many different ways of covering a large amount of space, ignoring blocks, ignoring sashing, just quilting all over it. And we've done that quite a bit so far this month. So this time let's focus on a design that will blast through your sashing in super speed. It's called Spiral Ornaments. It's going to look beautiful and it's going to fill that area with a beautiful texture, and it's also going to be really quick to quilt. So let's get on the machine and see how it works in free motion. So let's get started busting through the sashing of this quilt. I'm getting started off of this area of filler quilting, but you could easily get started in the middle of your quilt. Just simply pull up your thread, and you're not really in the dead center of the sashing, you're kind of a little to one side. Something like that. And you can stitch this with either a straight line or a curvy line. If stitching straight lines in free motion is a little challenging for you, then a curvy line would be a really good choice, simply because it's not as perfect. You don't have to get it dead on straight. If you feel like you're really worried about it being perfect, you can always mark it, and that will make it easier to quilt. So let's get started first with a wiggly line. I'm going to drop my needle down and get the quilt shifted up around me so that way it's not in my lap. Here we go. The really nice thing about this design is if you've already filled your blocks, this design is just simply going to bust through that sashing as quick as possible. The longest part is simply stitching this wiggly line down through the area and getting it completely filled. That's basically setting your base for the design. It takes some time, but that's honestly the most time-consuming part of this design. Just like with Matrix, I've stitched off the edge of the quilt and onto the batting about an inch or so that way I can break thread now and I don't have to hide those loose threads. I can just leave them and cut them off short because I don't need to hide this being in the batting. Now I'm going to slide the quilt all the way back up. So I'm back up at the top of the quilt, and I'm going to pull up my thread in the exact same place that I started originally. And of course, yes, that is going to create a place where there are 4 threads to hide. It's not really a big deal. Just make sure you tie a very secure knot before you hide those threads after you're done stitching the design. And as an alternative, you can always start at the basically the bottom of the quilt down here and travel stitch back up. I just simply broke thread simply because it would be easier to show you how to stitch this design this way. but it's entirely up to you how you quilt it on your own quilt and what is most convenient for you. Tug on that thread, bring it up, and tuck all 4 threads underneath the foot so they're out of your way. Okay. So, now we're just going to travel stitch down to make space for our spiral, then start in the middle and spiral all the way out, then hit the line below it and come on down again. It's very simple. About right there, and then start spiraling. You don't have to fill up the sashing completely. Like you can see, there's some open space over here. If you want to, you could go around again and completely fill up every little area. But you know, we want this quilt to be soft, so it doesn't need to be quilted very densely. Now just travel stitch down to the middle of the next spiral. Now this time I ended with the spiral up on top, and it shows just how little this matters. I'm just going to travel right down the middle of it and keep on going. It really doesn't matter if you start at the top or stop at the top or the bottom of the spiral. You can always travel stitch down that middle line. That looks good. Now I'm going to swing out for my spiral. You can also play with different sizes of spirals. I'm going to quilt a really tiny one right here, simply because it's in the middle of this sashing, and I might want to stitch another row of these across the opposite direction. There, that looks kind of cute. So just continue to work and down that line, starting in the center and spiraling out, then hitting that line again either at the top or the bottom and continuing down. So that's it for this video. I really hope that you'll give spiral ornaments a try. You know, this design is really not very challenging because you've got to start with that center line, and that's kind of your base for the rest of the design. But of course, if you struggle with it and you want to ask questions, if you want to get some help and assistance for free motion quilting, make sure to ask those questions on the free motion quilting project. You can quilt along with us, show us your progress, show how you use this design in your quilts by linking up a photo either to your Facebook or Flickr account or blogging about it and linking up with us. And that is at freemotionproject.com. Come and join the community of quilters who want to quilt their own quilts on their home sewing machine and share with others this fascinating hobby. So I hope you'll get on the site and join us for that and ask any questions that you have. Until next time, let's go quilt.